I'm back. I think I'm back. Hello. Hi, I'm back. Right, guys. Hello, I'm back. Basically, Steam's still opening. I'm working out what the hell's going on. A million things happening with my computer. Like that, and a bunch of other things. It's crapped itself, basically. But, the point is, where we are thrust into the face of adversity. I slapped the face of adversity. I'm giving it a right old shafting. F123 actually didn't stop while I was signed out of my PC. So for some reason, still running in the background, rather interestingly. So I don't know if that bodes poorly or not. But alas, we are yet to find out. Still stopping, apparently. Still stopping. Why is it taking forever to stop? There we go. Right, okay, cool. Here we go. So, if you were just wanting to tune in and find out what was going on with qualifying, sorry, well, here we are. Basically, my computer had a massive skill... for once, it genuinely did have a massive skill issue. As a result, I've now had to relaunch F123. Here we go. Here's my rendition of EA Sports. It's in the game very soon, once it happens, which it should. I actually hate my life. Right. Oh, shut up! Such a moronic machine. Right. Go. Go. Log in quicker, your family hates you. Hello to the 5... Stop doing things that I don't care about! Sounds also like my Friday nights. Anyway, look. Let's go on back onto OBS. Let's turn on the F123 screen and let's get to work. Where's my panel gone? Why is my panel not a thing? There we go. Right. Join game. And hopefully I haven't missed too much. So prepare for my expression of bemusement and amazement as we head. Oh, shoot. Okay, now I'm meant to join. I was like, hang on, why did it say practice at the top? I'm meant to join. Okay, cool. So, I have not missed all of qualifying. You have not missed all of qualifying. Welcome back to the Blackout Racing League in the most inconsistent of circumstances and completely out of my control circumstances. But we have returned to Blackout, and Buck57 is the one currently on pole position. However, we have the heavy hitters going through. On board with Thanassi through the tunnel. Oh, it's good to be back, isn't it? Right through the Novel chicane, chopping over the sausage curbs. Dirk's retired or something catastrophic has happened. I have no idea. Full track map is on. And why on earth have I gone to Maximus in the Ferrari? I'll have no idea. But through the final few corners comes this man, the championship leader. Terziak behind, also on a lap as he heads through Portier, but through the final corner, Anthony Nogues, DRS open, hug it to the wall. It's pole by 4/10 provisionally for Thanassi, just over halfway through this qualifying session, and the best is still yet to come. Like my computer being an anus. Right, so, Thanassi pole position. Let's see what everyone else has been up to. Actually, let's look at what Terziak's up to. Again, bouncing over the curbs there like a kangaroo. Stop doing things! Right, anyway. While I sacrifice this computer's family, through the... Right, that camera angle is about as useless as Star Wars 8, but Terziak goes faster! Unbelievable! 0.2 of a second has been put on the head top of Thanassi, the race winner in Mexico, confidence in spades, has found himself on provisional pole. Incredible lap time from the Alpine driver. Tagmata has epic LAN. Terziak is using that epic LAN to perfection between the Alpine boys. Perhaps I needed epic LAN to stop my computer from, well, needing a colostomy bag. But, anyway, let's see what the order actually is now. Whilst loads of people going out, I say loads, there's only 4 people, so shut up. But Ivory's out on an out lap, so's Giraffe, so's Wilco. J-Lane's actually started another lap. Bouncing over the Novel chicane once again. The prancing horse really is galloping for once, if you know what I'm saying. Through to back we go. Into the swimming pool section. Will he sink or will he swim? So far, he's looking like he's very much swimming. Perhaps not using as much of the curbs as he might have wanted to, but still, in Monaco, it's about confidence, finding the limits. In this case, the only limit J-Lane is finding is the changing rooms. That's a bit mean, wasn't it? Anyway, Giraffe has just started a lap in the Mercedes into the hairpin, and that's a lot of speed carried into Lowe's hairpin. The little car park corner, sliding out, though, as he heads towards Portier. He's not leaving any time on the table. Into the tunnel, sample the noise. That is concerningly nice. Into the Nouvelle chicane. Again, launch it over. Every single driver has launched over that sausage curb, but it's how you gain the most time, crucially. Looking at the order, though, AlphaTauri 2 and 3 so far, Maximus P4, Stark P5, McLaren 6th and 7th. That's much more on form for what they are. Second place in the Constructors, not messing around in Monaco. Giraffe certainly not messing around. The rear end squirming as he plants down the power. DRS open across the line, and he remains P16. Could go for a second consecutive lap if he wanted to. Only half his battery has been used. But it's Maximus now we watch. Actually, it's Wilco now we watch. A purple sector 2. The times continue to tumble down here in Monaco. Just like my self-esteem when my computer crapped itself. But through into Anthony Nogues as he rounds Raskas. Now through the final corner. DRS open. Straightened out like a bullet out of a gun. Wilco goes P2. Hardly anything in it between the top two positions. Ivory retires though. Oh dear. Ivory into the wall at Raskas. His left front tyre comes clean off. And Barry R has really sent him home crying. Maximus across the line, though, and is not an improvement. Perhaps masking his pace or perhaps adhering to the yellow flags, in which case, very smart move from the Ferrari man. Well then, all to play for still in qualifying. 4.5 minutes to go. Plenty of time for Wilco and Maximus to peel into the pit lane and get that final lap time of the session in. Mr. Wilco, looks like lightning found the earth. Also, oh no. Well, FTS Ivory failing to weather the storm. Both Williams drivers actually failing to weather the storm. When push comes to shove, they pushed and themselves into the barriers. My computer made a weird noise at me. That's probably a bad omen. But Maximus, through the final few corners, will surely peel into the pits because he's not pushing even slightly. And yes, indeed he does. Ivory's tyre is just chilling on Raskas, by the way. Having a siesta. Maximus retires from the session. No, that's the end of his qualifying. Very interesting. Maximus deciding then one final lap, possibly because the traffic is going to be absolutely catastrophic at the end of this session, has decided it is time actually to retire and make sure that these guys just squabble amongst themselves. And you know what? Partially, I don't blame him. Space Ghost, for those of you that are wondering, I believe, is Mr. Wilco, if I'm not mistaken. Would I be correct? So Captain Wilco, all this time, I've been saying and giving him boat analogies. He's actually completely starstruck me. Oh, I'm Wilco's reserve teammate. I see. I got you now. I got you now. Very nice. Of course I remember. I remember you're in a few races in the Alfa Romeo Season 1. You're sharing a seat this season. I understand now. That's why there's a Wilco / Space Ghost in the standings. I understand now. It all makes sense. I'm getting there now. Cool. Well, that's good to know in future. Thank you for letting me know. Only 2 minutes to go in this qualifying session then. And none of the drivers have yet blinked. Is it because there's any rain? Well, there isn't any rain because I'd see it on the screen. Doi. Absolutely none to speak of. Wilco works shift, so I cover when he's not here. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. No, yeah. So Wilco hasn't been working is what you're telling me. Wilco, what are you doing? I'm kidding. It's just probably just line it up. Well, Giraffe's going round the first corner. Messi's won an 8th Ballon d'Or. Stark says we're just afraid of hitting the barrier. Tell you what, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Self-preservation is the aim of the game. Tell you what, if you did go out, though, and just set a time, it wouldn't actually affect your grid position now, because the only man going out is Mr. Giraffe, sticking his very long neck out. The only man brave enough to face up to the impending and claustrophobic barriers of Monte Carlo. The hug that they give you is very sharp and very deadly. I know this because Ivory suffered the same fate at Rascasse not a few minutes ago. Through the Nouvelle chicane he goes. I was saying Lionel Messi's won an 8th Ballon d'Or. Discuss, was it justified? I imagine yes, because he won the World Cup. And he's just that good. But purple sector 2, Giraffe is not hanging around, ladies and gentlemen. It's getting a bit zesty through the final corner. DRS wide open. Giraffe goes P10. So while the others are afraid of hitting the barrier, the man with the most confidence, who decided to stick his neck out and put one final shift in, improves his and Mercedes' position to P10 in this race. Very nicely done there from Mr. Giraffe. I assume that's... Yes, it is a football thing. He's basically won the best player in the world in the men's game of football. For the 8th time in his career. In other words, he's been pretty good. Let's put it that way. Although, I would love to see Lionel Messi on a French version of Robot Wars. Mostly because I think PSG Ultras would come in and, like, try and punch him or something. But anyway, he also won Yes, he did, exactly. The man of many talents is Lionel Messi. Hits the barrier at Rascasse, does Giraffe. And that will be the last bit of excitement in this qualifying session. Well then, when it comes down to it, the order mostly stays the same, but one man was brave enough to try and change the fate of everyone else. All the other competitors were designed to retreat from the arena. Oh. They didn't even fight. They just had to make vehicles that would outrun Lionel Messi. So there you go. The more you know. Or as they call him, Lionel Messi. So, anyway, back to Formula 1 quickly. Why am I talking about French Robot Wars? Terziak takes pole position, confidence clearly carrying through from the previous race in Mexico. Wilco P2, Thanassi in P3, although Space Ghost can claim P2 as well, technically, if you know what I'm saying. Buck 57 P4, AlphaTauri with a very respectable 3 and 4. Maximus P5, Stark P6, Buck 20 and Milo for McLaren 7th and 8th. J-Lane, who said he'd dedicate his last qualifying time to me, came 9th, so I don't know how to feel about that. Giraffe 10th in the end, great work from him. Tagmata, Vulcan, Magico, Slam, Dirkleton, Big Salmon, FTS, Ivory, complete your top 17 runners, because there's only 17 of them. So another fascinating discovery, Space Ghost is the brains behind the operation of Captain Wilco. While Captain Wilco might steer the ship, it's actually the Spectre that haunts him in the night, that tells him exactly what his setups are. Right. Well then, there's a reason. There's a reason why. I've now twigged. It's cause we're doing full qualifying. And actually, technically, it didn't say on the calendar, but it did say in the Discord, so I should know better. Full qualifying, then, for the Monaco Grand Prix. Terziak with the time to beat, then, throughout the rest of this session. And I take back what I said about J-Lane, because actually, he does have time to put a Q3 lap in and do me very proud. First out onto the track, then, obviously not Dirkleton, because he had a minor skill issue. It's actually Buck 57. Here he is. How it all makes sense, of course. Of course, with it being a full qualifying, you want to have that self-preservation about you. Complete that one lap nice and quickly. Put yourself in a good position. and then let everyone else put themselves under pressure, effectively. The last thing you want at Monaco is to put yourself under pressure. Because with barriers left, right, and centre, I'll tell you what, they do well on a night out, considering how many of them there are at every single nook and cranny of this track. But at the end of the day, if you keep it all together, you're in good stead. What can we expect then? Well, AlphaTauri look decent. Terziak looks very decent. Wilco also very decent. Stark says this game. Who is Barrier? Oh, who is Barrier? This game. Yes, he is. Barrier is simply something that human synapses, mere human cortexes, cannot comprehend. Let's ride on board with Buck 57 then. As we head down the start-finish straight towards the first corner. Brake as late as you dare, use as much of the curb as you dare, and then try and let the car swoop out to the exit. Momentum is key here at Monte Carlo, and he's using it to perfection as he heads into Casino Square. Put it all on red, luckily came out red as he heads into the Mirabeau, and my computer decides to shaft me. Anyway, Lowe's hairpin. Very fast in. Into Portier, though, gets it all back together again and plants down the power. Stark does get back into the session. That's probably what he is referring, as opposed to answering who Barrier is. Well, Barrier is to Buck 57's left, and now to Buck 57's right, and straight ahead of Buck 57. Barrier is actually omnipotent and omniscient. Purple middle sector, because he's the only one to have done one so far, as he heads through the chicane, again planting down the power. So much wheel spin he's inducing into the rear tyres, but then don't trust spectator cam. Through the final corner, though, very circumspect and very conservative, but it's enough to get a good lap on the board. A 1 minute 11.7. But here comes Captain Wilco. There he is, P1. There you go. 300ths of a second. And Maximus slots himself nicely into P2. Hardly anything to separate the top three. Magical stuff. Speaking of magical, it wasn't quite what I had in mind, but you know what? At least you're not the Williams cars. That's all I'm saying at the moment. But in other stop giving me notifications I don't care about. I think it's working, Raiden. I think yelling at my computer is actually working. Anyway, the point is, as we see Magico now, he did a purple sector. Sorry, I was unfamiliar with his game. He actually was saving up the battery and saving up his confidence for this lap here. Get a reconnaissance in at a decent pace, and then finally launch it through the tunnel and really pile the pressure on his competitors. Novell chicane. How does one do? It's invalidated. That's how one does, unfortunately. Milo, 1 minute 13.0, and that was a hot lap with battery power and everything. That's all the McLaren man could muster on that particular lap. Possibly a mistake somewhere there. But we'll have to wait and see. Still 10 minutes to go in this qualifying session, so anything can happen. Meanwhile, here's the man that got himself out of Q1 and into Q2. Sent it. Put it all on black. Since he's in the Mercedes, actually touched the wall on the exit off to back. But through the swimming pool chicane and into Raskas, he goes so easy to lock up if you're not running assists. But if you are, I don't blame you for doing so. DRS wide open then as he thunders down towards the line. And he sets the timing screens kind of ablaze. He's P5 for the moment. And he's only a 10th behind Milo. So actually, very well done, Mr. Giraffe. It's Buck 20, though, that's the man to watch. Because he's the next to cross the line. Here he goes. And it is P4. 3 tenths ahead of his teammate. But McLaren have a way to go before they're on the pace of the likes of Wilco, Maximus, and Buck 57, who is out for another lap. Was out for another lap, but he's invalidated it. But he has got full battery, so he could well be recharging it and then going again. You never know. The answer is no, he's not, and he's coming into the pits. Well, who else is on laps then? Well, something's happened. Giraffe's had a... Well, I was going to say he's had a problem. He's actually stayed well out of the way of Buck 20. Still absolutely going for it, I think. And he is absolutely going for it, my word. Leaving nothing to chance. And it looks like I didn't respect his game enough. J-Lane behind him, also on his first lap of this qualifying session, as he heads into the back. Not getting close and personal with the barrier whatsoever. And you know what? Fair enough, as he actually gets a bit unsteady out of the swimming pool chicane. And into Raskas he goes. Hug the barrier as much as you can. Momentum can swing in your favour into the final corner. Plant the power once the car is in a straight line. And it's going to be a monumental lap. The crowd goes mild. The crowd goes mild. Oh, and Space Ghost has beat me to it as well. But you know what? It doesn't matter. J-Lane in P6 then. Ferrari, 2nd and 6th for the time being. Terziak on a hot lap, though. The man that got P1. 1 minute 11.4 the time to beat. Here in the night time of Monaco. Rip says... I don't know whether to... I don't know how to feel considering a ghost has told me rest in peace. Like, what do I even say? I've been considered dead by actual death. It was Purple Sector 1 from Terziak, meanwhile, while he's setting the timing screen to blaze and burning down the hopes of everyone else. Feel at peace. Okay.
Let's feel at peace then on this lap with Terziak. On board with the Alpine driver. Thrusting his way into the Novel chicane, all bouncy over the curbs. Plants the power, more wheel spin than my nan. Into to back. Ooh, smoke on the water as he heads into the swimming pool. Bounce over the corner. Oh, a bit close to that barrier, mate. It's getting a bit zesty now, isn't it? As you head through the final corner, it could be a fastest time of the session if you just plant the power and make it nice.
It is a fastest time, a 1 minute 11.4 once again. Forever consistent is Terziak, and he proves it so again. Meanwhile, here's his teammate, just out of the Novel chicane. Tabak absolutely smokes through there, and then steams through into the swimming pool section. With his tyres red hot and screaming for resuscitation. Will the timing sheet be on fire in his favour, though? Takes a very narrow line into the final corner, very interestingly. Seems to have paid off, though, as he heads towards the line. And it's P5 into the 111s for Tag Marta. Very neat lap indeed. And we see what everyone else can do then. Magico just behind him. He better get out of the way. Hopefully it's not going to have held up Magico a humongous amount. Then anyway, up the hill goes the Red Bull driver. Through into Casino Square he goes. And then into Mirabeau. Late as you dare actually hugs the inside very nicely indeed. As he heads into the Lowe's hairpin. Hugging the inside and does so very well. The two right-handers. You can probably take a lot of curbs through that first one. There's Thanassi getting very out of the way. So well done him. Then plant the power out of the exit. Perhaps third gear the right choice there, but dulling the revs just to give him some more traction. I don't hate that strategy. Into the Novel chicane, don't cut it too much. That's probably a prime cut right there. Feels like a nice ribeye. Succulent as he heads through to back. And a bit more zest at it as he heads through the swimming pool chicane and into the second chicane of the complex and into Raskas. And Magico absolutely flying through. Meanwhile, Vulcan up to P11 with a 1 minute 13.3. Magico sliding his way out of the final corner. DRS wide open across the line. And a nice time there from the Red Bull driver. 1 minute 12.3 just behind Buck 20 in the McLaren. Both McLarens out once again then, leaving nothing to chance here in this Q2 session. Thanassi will probably only need the one lap. That's famous last words, isn't it? Anyway, let's watch what Milo does. A purple Sector 2. That's more like the Milo we know. Perhaps the mistake was in Sector 2, just outbraking himself. Or maybe outbraking himself into Raskas. The front can easily wash out towards the outside wall, and you spend loads of time trying to recoup whatever balance you can find. As towards the line goes Milo, and that's much more like it. 6th place into the 111s. Excellent stuff. Here comes Thanassi, though. Saw what he could do in Q1, 3rd place for the time being, but perhaps he has something to offer in Q2 as a statement to Terziak. A purple Sector 2 is not a bad way of going about it, as into the swimming pool and out of the swimming pool complex before my synapses can even fire up, hugging the inside of Raskas, kind of, but flicking it into the final corner. So much confidence there in that car. DRS open, and that is more like it. 1 minute 10.4. That is the statement we were all waiting for. Thanassi 1 second almost, separating him and the next closest competitor. Unbelievable lap. Here goes Milo then. On a cool down, charging into the pits. Meanwhile, it's Mr. Giraffe here, the hero of Q1, and could well be the hero of Q2 as well, depending on how this lap goes. So, let's ride on board with the Mercedes man as we head through a lap of Monte Carlo. Turn up the noise and enjoy. And he's invalidated it already. I can't be arsed. Well, here we are. Giraffe is the hero of our hearts, I agree. One absolute legend of the game. Unfortunately, cutting turn 1 was not part of the script whatsoever. J-Lane's here on an outlap, so is Vulcan in the Haas car. Both of them in deep threat. A grave threat of being dumped out of qualifying here. Of course, one more session to go. We had 18 minutes of Q1, I think. Something like that. We've had some minutes of Q2, not many to go at all. And then we will have one final showdown. It's an unusual strategy. Yes, to cut turn 1. But you know what? Actually, it's just seeing how far he can push it into the corner. So next time he knows how much he should actually cut. The man may have a long neck. But where he has a long neck, he also has a big brain. Stay tuned. Giraffe out of Raskas onto another lap then. I'm going to watch through turn 1 and see if he doesn't invalidate it. And if he doesn't, then happy days. The answer is no, he doesn't. Much more speed carried in on the entry. And off he goes on his merry way. Through into Casino Square. Oh no! Giraffe, no! Not the hero of my heart! It's just been shattered into a million pieces. Yellow flag at the exit there. You want to be extremely careful if you're on a hot lap. That Mercedes car's not budging anywhere for the time being. Well, there it goes. Disappears into the ether, courtesy of Space Ghost. But Giraffe just pushing the limit too much. Clipping the inside wall of the right-hander. And that has severe repercussions. You saw a huntsman do it. Oh, dear. Well, you have to wonder how he was let in the circuit, to be honest. You have to wonder how on earth they validated a Glock as being a safe item. Because Giraffe had a cap popped in his skull. And now it's pain. So let's mourn Giraffe for 1 second. On board with J-Lane now, through the swimming pool section. Breaststroking his way through, and now he's got a restraining order. Into Raskas he goes, and into Anthony Nogues he goes. And it's a decent little exit there. That might have time to just push on for one more lap here, should he desire to. But that could be good enough. 1 minute 11.8. We're waiting to see what everyone else does here. Loads of people on outlaps though. Even the front 4 of the front 5 deciding that it's not quite safe enough to just sit in the pit lane and be circumspect about things anymore. Stark, with his final flying lap of the session, actually goes P2. So that right there is track evolution if I've ever seen it. Where they were playing the self-preservation game in Q1, Q2 is very much different. 3 of them on the checkered flag. Terziak, Wilco and Thanassi will take no further part. Thanassi surely guaranteed through. Slam is not guaranteed through. It's a Mercedes nightmare here in Monte Carlo. 13th and 14th for the British team, which is actually in Germany. Wilco will cross the line. His lap time was invalidated anyway, but it wouldn't have mattered because he missed the checkered flag. Tagmata, the first one under threat. Buck 20 and Magic. Well, Buck 20 is now the only one that can really put someone in trouble. And Tagmata doesn't complete his lap. So it's all up to Buck 20 to see what he can do. Into the Novel chicane. Don't cut it too finely. Keeps it well within the track limits. We ride on board into Tabac. Does keep it together. There's a slow car through there. He'd better get out of the way. Buck 20 actually hits the wall on the outside, gives it a proper clobber. Somehow, though, doesn't get any damage as far as I can tell. And so on he goes. Doesn't clip the entry wall, the apex wall rather. Plants the power down. Does he make it through? Yes, he does. 1,000th off his teammate. But he does make it through into Q3. Vulcan makes it through into Q3. What an interstellar effort from the Haas driver. Unless there's only 9 in Q3 because this game's weird in some cases. But either way, incredible effort there. Well done to Buck 20 for getting through. Vulcan, if you are through, that is an absolutely exquisite effort from you. Goodness me. Tagmata, who aborted his lap at the final last gasp. It was an interstellar effort. I saw him fly past. Well, with a name that sounds like a spaceship, I am not surprised. Vulcan will take part in Q3. There it is. There's your confirmation. The Haas driver's done it. Incredible stuff. Hardly anything to separate being in the drop zone and being in the top 10. But even so, we've lost Tagmata, Magico and the Red Bull. Both Mercedes cars also out of Q2 here in Monaco. And just when you thought the qualifying action was all done and dusted, well. That's where you are wrong. Now waiting room to die. No, please. 0.3 up. Oh, no. Oh, that's horrible. Almost a Q3. Although, to be fair, it could be worse. Because technically, you could just pit really early. Get onto hard tyres quicker than everybody else. And then wait for them to pit. And they can just be a Magico train. There's a plan in my mind, you see. He's put... Okay, Space Ghost is putting one great British Freddo on crashing in Q3. Oh. Well, that's not very nice. Karl, Magico, hi. Hello. So, Q3, 12 minutes of qualifying action still to go. The majority of the race weekend is actually just qualifying. He'll create the biggest train possible for me. You know what, Magico? I thought you'd never offer. What an absolute darling. Anyway, what are we talking about? Formula 1. Buck 57 and an Aston Martin of Stark out of the pit lane. Space Ghost has put a great British Freddo on Stark. That's... You know what, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to plant the seed because he might be listening. And if he is, I won't plant it. I just won't entertain it for him. If it happens, it happens. I'll let the universe do its thing. But what can we expect out of qualifying 3? Well, I don't think Terziak showed his full hand. I must say Thanassi probably could get into the 1-minute 9s come the end of this session as well if he's really going for it. So, be on the lookout for that. Because that could be very interesting. I'm all for that happening, personally. There could also be crashes. Remember, we saw it with Giraffe last session. Don't ever rule it out. All 10 drivers out on the track then. No one waiting around or whatsoever. I imagine 1 lap at the beginning and 1 lap at the end of this session will do it for everybody. That would not surprise me. Also, perhaps, we're taking into account the fact that some of the top runners last time out actually were on old softs. So they've got 2 new sets to romp around this track with. Buck 57 then. The first man in Q3. Clips that curb and has a great exit out of turn number 1. And so up the hill, we elevate and then we deflate, I guess, through Casino Square. And then into Mirabeau. Purple, Sector 1, because it's the only one that's done it. And then into the Lowe's hairpin. Keep it pinned as you head through these right-handers. I mean pinned to the apex, not the throttle pinned, unless your name is Sergio Perez and you have a skill issue. Now you can pin it, though. Through the tunnel, sample the noise.
I've heard Antler louder than the V6s.
Through the Novell chicane we go, and that is about as fine as you can cut it. My goodness me. Every single inch of track being used. And again, don't ask about my Fridays on that particular eventuality, but look how much speed Buck 57 carried into that second chicane, as into Raskas he goes, hugging the inside. Wilco might well have taken that purple sector too, as he just crossed the split. Buck 57 as the first time in his qualifying session, though. Across he goes, 11.0. That's the marker, as Stark is next across the line. And it's a 1 minute 11.4. His teammate, though, let's see what he can do. Can he usurp Buck 57? No, he can't. Still, a 1 minute 11.0 is the time to beat. Millo next across the line, and it's a McLaren duo line astern. Millo across, 1 minute 11.6. Buck 20 across, slowest of the lot so far. J-Lane splits the McLaren guys. Then Thanassi, oh, there he is. Half a second between himself and Buck 57 straight away. That's a hell of a banker to be putting yourself in. And there you go. I told you Terziak didn't show his whole hand. Purple last sector, and 600ths only separating Thanassi and Terziak. Vulcan next across the line, and he goes last at the moment of the runners with a 1 minute 12.5. Well, there you go then. First laps of qualifying have been decided. At the moment, it's these two on a different planet compared to everybody else. Absolutely flying. Terziak wasting no time getting back into the pits. Neither is the Ferrari behind him. Maximus, by the way, got into 6th place, so well done to him. Beating out the McLaren of Millo, and right on the back of the Aston Martin duo of Wilco and Stark. They may be called the prancing horse, but the mechanics are slower than plankton. Finally, Maximus gets the chance to pull into his pit box. Stark, meanwhile, actually, rather interestingly, going for another flying lap, and that is very interesting, actually, just to see if there was any time to find. Perhaps there was a mistake on his lap that we didn't see, because through Sector 2 he goes, flying over the curbs. Not too much usage of the curb in that second part of the chicane, just to not unsettle the car. The answer is he does not decide to complete the lap. Into the pits he goes. It's actually Vulcan that will go out for another lap. Or perhaps he's on the same set of tyres. I have no idea. I've got optical issues. You all know this. Why the hell did Codemasters make this game so idyllic to listen to? Literally, the seagull is louder than the Haas car. Man's yapping for chips, and I want to watch Formula 1. Stop it. Into the Novel chicane. Very gingerly through there. You don't want to be out of Q3 before you even have the chance to prove yourself. I think my brain actually had a meltdown in that particular moment. I'm so sorry. But every driver currently inside the 1 minute 11s at least. Can Vulcan complete that trend? Through the final corner he goes, and no matter what, if he finishes this lap, well, he'll cross the line. 1 minute 12.3. It is an improvement on the older tyres, and he'll be able to come back into the pits and do another lap at the end of this session. The cars are a byproduct. Right, no. In F1 23. I'll call it Formula Seagull then. Because it would be much louder and much more piercing for my eardrums than that. The Nissan Leaf is louder than that Haas car. What's going on? Anyway, let's go with Buck 57 here. And let's ride on board with him so I can't be idyllically swooned by seagulls. And that's a big slide. Does keep it out of the barriers in his case. Blissfully for him. But he'll have to cool it down and go again on the next lap. Meanwhile, who else is on the lap? Oh, it's Terziak that's on the lap. The man currently in P2. Look how much curb he used there. That was millimetric precision. Another few millimeters inside of there. And let's put it this way. It would have been red and dead. Well, not dead, but certainly the lap would have been red. Through the casino square. Keeping it all together. Purple Sector 1. Okay. Here we go then. Track evolution. Well, still a feature probably at Monaco. Not as much of a feature. Really, it's confidence and massive testicles that are the big feature. I've said before many a time that wheelbarrows have done the job at Baku, for instance. In Stark's case, when he won in Season 1 at Baku, I said he had a wheelbarrow for each testicle. Here, you need a cruise ship for each one, because Monaco is just that kind of brute, honestly. Through to back we go. Yellow flag as the McLaren heads out of the pit lane of Milo. A purple sector 2. This is getting very zesty indeed. Here we go then. The byproduct heads through Raskas then. And I'll tell you what, sometimes a byproduct is better than the actual product. I'll think of an example in a minute. DRS open across the line. And 1 minute 9.7. What a lap from Terziak there. 8 tenths. All right then, Thanassi. That's the gauntlet. Tell you what, J-Lane as well. He said his last lap in Q3 would be for me. And I'll tell you what, he's done quite well there. 1 minute 11.1. 4th place. I will accept this compliment, my friend. You know what? If you really get a move on, if you really get a move on, you can do another lap. So get moving, quick. Cut the Nouvelle chicane. Do whatever you need to do. Just cut it. Just get into the pits and... That's not what I meant, J-Lane! No! What have you done? No! I didn't mean actually listen to me. He heard my calls, but it was all completely misconstrued. Left front sheared clean off. And unbelievably, we have another victim of the walls of Monte Carlo. Or perhaps he meant to do that. I have no idea. Either way, if he didn't mean to. Thanks for giving me some commentary anyway. If he did mean to, thanks for giving me some commentary anyway. Next across the line that is on a lap is this man. Surely, buck 20. As Stark starts a lap, Wilco will start a lap in about a minute's time. Buck 20 though, through the Nouvelle chicane. That's not Stark. Well, the one that crossed the line, that's where that is. Or do you mean something else earlier? Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, I got you now, I'm a bit slow. Purple sector 2 for buck 20 though. Here we go. You know what? I'll give you half a Fredo. I'll give you half a Fredo because you were right. Someone did crash. It was just the wrong man. Across the line, buck 20 goes. P3, that's more like it. Hello there. Only a minute and 52 to go in this session then. And Stark will be next across the line. Once he gets round. Actually, no, it'll be Milo. My apologies. Purple sector 2. Okay. I didn't recognise your game before then. Man has got game. Through Raskas he goes. Sliding into the final corner. DRS open. Foot planted to the floor. Pedal to the metal. Milo goes P4. Very nicely done indeed. Now we await Stark to see where he can wrestle his Aston Martin to. The answer is he's charged up the battery. And now this is where he really lays the gauntlet down. But this is the man who has to have the answer to Terziak. Terziak could go for another lap yet at the end of this session if he really gets a move on as well. Although the last time I said that, there was a crash. And Milo's crashed out himself, actually. That's why I saw a yellow flag in Sector 1. And the Ferrari sliding about there. Maximus not suffering J-Lane's fate in this particular instance. Which is good news for the prancing horse. J-Lane in 6th place, though. So, nothing, not all too bad, it must be said. Thanassi, though. What answer does he have to the query of Terziak? What statement can he make now? 1 minute 9.7. I knew there would be 1 minute 9s, and that was certainly one way of doing it. Ferrari kind of gets out of the way, but Thanassi certainly not distracted. Look how quick. Oh my god, the amount of sliding through there. If you need any evidence and proof that he's pushing to 110% of his ability, then that right there is about as obvious as you're ever going to get. 10 seconds in qualifying to go. Terziak will start another lap. Thanassi's not going to complete it. That's it. And Stark, meanwhile, goes up to P3 and crashes monumentally into the barriers. Oh, no. And Space Ghost, you do get your Fredo. Stark has indeed crashed out in qualifying. Doesn't matter about the circumstances, however dubious they might have been. At the end of the day, it is still a Fredo. Still some drivers to complete laps in this session, though. Terziak's just gone out there because he can and because he's on pole, and it doesn't matter anymore. So he can afford to do this. And if he cuts the Nouvelle chicane fully, then we know it wasn't worth it. But my god, how late did he brake? Wowzer! The same place. Purple sector 2. He's going for it. He's not lying about for 1 second here. I am just taken aback with shock and awe, completely starstruck at what kind of a lap Terziak's producing, almost sliding out of Raskas, but it points the car exactly where it needs to be, across the line, and it's not an improvement, but it doesn't matter either way. It is pole position for Terziak here in Monte Carlo. An excellent, sublime qualifying performance from the Alpine driver. The grid is now set in stone. The man that got P1 in Q1 takes pole position for the race in just a few moments' time. Thanassi P2, who knows what he could have done had the lap all come together, but it just was not to be. Stark P3, it's a British lockout from 3rd until 8th, with the Irish taking 9th and 10th. But still, what an effort from absolutely everybody. In the end, J-Lane crashed, and it is Fredo season for Space Ghost. He did say on the last lap, I'm going to send it, which either means pole or death. Well, he got P3, but he also did get served a slight case of death. So, not completely wrong. Why am I in the Alfa Romeo? Why am I in the Alfa Romeo? Why am I in... Help! No. Why am I in... No, this isn't alright, man. No, I'm stuck on the bloody... Oh, no, I'm not. What am I supposed to do? Sure, why not? Just go over there. Just go over there. I don't know what to do! You get to comment on me. I mean, you can if you want. Oh, God almighty, this is terrible. Assists. Oh, you know what, Elite? You know what, Elite? I'm going full send on it. Sure, why not? What's the worst that could happen? Right, then. This is going to be absolutely cataclysmic. 5 red lights in Monte Carlo. Lights out, and away we go. And I've got a monumental start. I've got... Oh, God, what's happening? Why are you all braking? Something's really bad's happened. Sorry, I can't drive. Just go through. I don't want to be part of this. I haven't played this game on controller ever, so I'm like gauging how the hell I actually play this. Oh my God. This is actually terrible.
Brand new race strategy on your MFT.
Who's crashed? What have you done? You made me go into reverse. Retire to the bits at the end of lap 1. Okay, I won't.
That's a decent start. Good job.
That's a decent start. I had nowhere else to go. I don't know why it's put me in a car. I've cut the corner so badly there. Through. I could get Ivory here. Get very zesty for you, my friend. Oh, he's got no front wing. Never mind. Terziak's leading everybody. I am absolutely bricking it. Right, cool. I'm the medical car. That wasn't the way I intended to pop my cherry on racing. But anyway, my goodness, what racing we have. Thanassi's in the lead, Buck 20's in P2, and Terziak's in P3 when all is said and done. No idea what's happened. After all that quality... Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it, Raiden, honestly. That was absolutely horrible. And you know what? I was going to say that. I made it further than Perez did this weekend. I made it past a corner. You know what? I'm going to join them after this just to find out, because that's ridiculous. Thanassi, though, absolutely flying. I've no idea what's happened to Terziak. Hasn't got any damage as far as I can tell. Just not a great start from him. I actually was up a couple of positions and then I had a skill issue. Well, I just got out of the way of everybody. Did Zeus and Buck jump the start? Oh, good question. Let's find out. Let's find out, did they? It's lap 3. I imagine they were most supposed to go into the pits at the end of, the last lap, no? Sure, lap data, penalties. Yes, drive-throughs. Okay, that explains it. Well done, Space Ghost. Good call. Well, there you go then. There's your answer. I'm just going to breathe a little bit here. That wasn't the way I intended for this to go. Right. Hello, everyone. We're back in the commentary Grand Prix. I was actually doing okay for a brief second there. Who knows what I could have got? However, I'd much prefer to be on a wheel and not... You made it to the pit and retired. Listen, I'll take it. I'll take it. It's about as good as it was going to get. Anyway, Thanassi and Buck 20, naughty, naughty boys, they have jumped the start in this race. However, everywhere else is actually quite the assortment of tyres here. Terziak on the mediums, Milo on the softs, Buck 57 on the mediums. Loads of softs. There's only a couple of hard runners, Maximus being one of them, and of course, the couple that pitted ahead of me, being Magico and Ivory. Into the pits, though, for a drive-through come both Buck 20 and Thanassi. Thanassi's pace is so much so. Oh, never mind. Never mind. He's gonna be quite a way down the order. Down in 7th at least, if not more. Because here comes Giraffe! Round the outside. The hero in my heart. Didn't get out of Q2. Actually crashed out in Q2. But past the championship leader he goes. And on his merry way, the Mercedes driver carries on. I apologise if I burst any eardrums during that particular, sequence. I genuinely was so confused as to why I was driving. I was meant to be spectating. Considering I haven't driven with a controller, with no assists, for about 6 years. If ever, actually. I'll take it. I'll take it. I showed decent pace up to that point. I was ahead of Wilco for quite some time. Again, wasn't the way I planned on doing things, but here we are. It's happened to me before. In F1... Oh, shoot. Yeah. No, that's... Yeah, not ideal. Anyway, let's talk about someone who is having an ideal scenario. Terziak, lap number 4, almost a quarter of the way through this race already here. And 3.7 seconds, almost 4 seconds, the gap between himself and Milo. Thanassi, meanwhile, pits, and this is what I thought would happen, actually, calculated in my head. Because he has such a pace offset, he'll actually come into the pits where there's clean air, strap on either the mediums or the hards, and then absolutely fly. Aliens control the camera. It will be mediums for Thanassi. They will last easily until the end of the race. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a 25% race. So, full qualifying, 25% race. Game's the game. Out of the pits comes Thanassi. Gap to the cars in front. It's just over 9 seconds, 9.5 seconds. There it is. And now he can get about, absolutely flying along. This is his chance now in clear air to do something absolutely magical. On Monaco, where the track is notoriously difficult to overtake at. What a chance, what a position Thanassi could put himself into, provided he just remains consistent. I'm just curing my PTSD still as we head on to lap number 6, and Stark is looking very racy against Slam for a brief moment. Nothing doing there, though, unfortunately, for the Aston Martin driver. It's that man, though, that's absolutely orchestrating things. He is the conductor of this Monaco Grand Prix. If you listen very closely, you'll hear a woodlouse cooing. Do woodlice coo? Well, you wouldn't know unless you listened just then. Stark does get past Slam, meanwhile. Okay, was that round the outside of Mirabeau? I see your game, Mr. Stark. Slam, though, hits the rear left. He does carry on his merry way, though. I also would like to preface, while Stark makes an absolutely sumptuous move, and up into P8 he goes, I would like to just give a disclaimer and say that is not how I actually drive. J-Lane gets past Buck 57, meanwhile. A mistake made by the AlphaTauri driver. And J-Lane up into P3. The podium position's beckoning for the Ferrari team. And the AlphaTauri driver, who was piling on all the pressure on the McLaren man of Milo, has now been usurped by the most prestigious team in Formula 1. And what a fitting way to do it at the most prestigious Grand Prix of them all. Bunch of people coming into the pits though. Tag Marta's in. Stark is in. I've got hiccups. I'm going to neck a goose. But that's why. Because Stark needs a front wing changing. And no, Wilco, no! Wilco double stacks. And it's going to be even more pain for the Aston Martin driver. Did he need a new front wing as well? Is that why? The answer is, no he didn't actually. Just a change of tyres. Onto the hards he goes. Away he goes. A little bit of a hold there. Perhaps to swear at his screen or something. As I was saying though, I'd like to preface by saying, and actually add on by saying, no, I don't drive like that in real life, just to be quite clear. I drive a lot better on the wheel. If you watch my YouTube channel, you would know. So, I managed to last one lap of Monaco. This man has already lasted nearly 7, closing on to 8. 7.6 seconds now the gap between Terziak and the car behind. Thanassi, though, catching hand over fist on Slam up ahead. That's exactly what he needs. Slam was overtaken by Stark earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if Slam had some miscellaneous front wing damage that we can't quite see, because he's actually let Giraffe go. Or maybe he didn't let Giraffe go. My memory's still... Listen, okay, I am traumatized to my actual core. That was quite horrible. I don't think I ever want to have that ever repeated again. The train continues, though. This time, unlike it being the Stark Express, it's the Milo Mallard. Here they serve first-class cuisine. Today, they're planning on serving a nice set of hard-shelled tacos. In memory of the previous Mexican Grand Prix, which went, I think, very, very well indeed. If you're me, though, things didn't go so well, unfortunately. Well, I was in the lead of the race, but, you know, as it turns out, well, a bear walked into the middle of the circuit at Rasgas, and, you know, I had to avoid the bear. I was preserving life. The others were very ungrateful to the wildlife and actually just chose not to deck their car into the barrier out of respect. But at the end of it doesn't matter about my WWF campaign. Milo, though, into the pits. Okay, never mind. Forget my WWF campaign. Put that in the skip, because here comes the McLaren driver. One of the first of the proper top 3 to blink. Onto the medium tyres he goes. And let's see what the pace was like of those behind. Thanassi, there he is, and through he goes on Milo. So Thanassi currently a provisional P2. And let's remind ourselves, the gap between Terziak and Milo was about 8 seconds. Milo comes out of the pits and the gap is 6 seconds. So currently Terziak would still come out of the pits ahead of Thanassi. And that's all he needs to hear. Still, Terziak will bide his time, though, surely, and then just strap on the softs at the end and go like lightning. 10 seconds now the gap out in front as he laps Ivory in this race. Ivory has a 3-second time penalty, meanwhile, for multiple warnings. That's not gone well, I'll be honest with you. 6 of you here, welcome along to a rather traumatic Monaco Grand Prix, if you're me. At the bottom, for some reason, I was driving on a controller, having never done so before, on a default setup, which I changed the wings of briefly, which I've never done on a controller on the PC, on F123 before. Wasn't quite what I had in mind, and I think I burst some eardrums and broke the sound barrier in that particular instance. But I can breathe a sigh of relief now, as Maximus is next to peel into the bits, with front wing damage as well. So the front wings, Voldemort is greeting his followers with open arms then. It's all happening here at Monte Carlo. Out of the pits comes the Ferrari man, Milo, well ahead, as the Aston Martin is getting jiggy with it. Look at that car go. That is not good for Twitch TOS. Stop that, please. Tagmata out ahead, Buck 20 out ahead, Stark out ahead of Maximus. Pitting early seems to be the way forward so far then. My goodness me. Thanassi, meanwhile, did get past Slam. Very nicely done indeed. And when I was talking about Tom doing the same thing here at Monaco last time, he had a bit of an incident. And by a bit of an incident, front wing off, and then he retired from the race. And then we swore never to talk about Monaco again, until now. So the gap between Thanassi and Terziak currently, the gap between J-Lane and Terziak actually isn't changing that much, about 10 seconds still. But the gap between Thanassi and Terziak is just over 20 seconds as J-Lane peels into the pits for the Ferrari team. Onto the mediums he goes, onto the end of this race. He will go. See where everyone else is. Giraffe goes into P3 on 10-lap-old medium tyres. Thanassi up into P4. Gap now, just 19.6 between Thanassi and Terziak. Of course, Thanassi still has to navigate the Giraffe, remember, so it's not all set in stone for the championship leader. Let's ride on board with him, though. The man who made the move on Slam not a lap ago. Now trying to do the same to his teammate here. Through into Portier we go. Thanassi looms ever closer to the rear end of that Mercedes car. Piles on the ERS, goes to the outside of the Nouvelle chicane. That's going to be very brave. Does he get it done? Just about gets it stopped in time. And Thanassi makes a lovely pass on Giraffe. He tries everything to get the traction down and stay alongside. But Thanassi does it, and does it brilliantly. Up into P3, AlphaTauri now 2 and 3 in this race. Buck 57, of course, still yet to pit. Terziak still yet to pit in this race. And what will be the pit delta? Well, that's the question, really. I don't know the answer, unfortunately. 5 seconds is the gap between Thanassi and Milo. I believe Terziak would still come out ahead of Thanassi, but it would be very touch and go. Extremely touch and go, actually. So he had better be very careful and tread very carefully in his next few laps of the race. Lap number 12 of the Monaco Grand Prix then. You're riding on board with race leader Terziak. Buck 57 in P2 as a Red Bull gets dutifully out of the way. Meanwhile, was that Ivory? I believe it was. Yes, it was. And he gets out of the way, but Big Sam mugs him as well. So there you go. And there's no end plate on Ivory. That's why. Lucky to avoid the barrier there with the understeer he had. My goodness me. It's all happening here at Monte Carlo. Anyway, Terziak across the line he goes to complete lap number 12 onto lap number 13 of this race. Buck 57 just edging a little bit closer on that particular lap with Thanassi in P3, Milo P4, J-Lane 5th, Tagmata in 6th, Buck 20 in 7th, Stark in 8th, keeping Maximus at 9th, in 9th at bay, Giraffe in 10th and Slam in 11th, both Mercedes on the soft tyres. Recently just bit onto them. Ivory goes onto the softs as well for a bit of a psychological boost. There he is. Out of the pit lane he goes. Gets a cracking stop, it must be said. Kraken apparently is a type of rum. Who would have known? Out of the pits he goes. And on his way he goes. Gap now 19.4 seconds between Terziak and Thanassi. I would Kraken is tasty. There you go. One happy customer says this. Just under 19 seconds now, the gap between Thanassi and Terziak. And you have to wonder if now is the right time for Terziak to peel into the pits. But no, he stays out again. Terziak deciding not to come into the pits, maybe banking on a potential safety car to really ascertain that he is in that prime position for first place. But even so, that's a risky move to make. Thanassi catching little by little all the time. 19.1 seconds the gap, dropping down all the time. And Buck 57 has ramped up that pace. What was a gap of 10 seconds? Now 9.4. Yellow flag. What on earth has gone on there? And it's because Ivory did something? I can't tell. What on earth's happened there? Magico's fine. Vulcan's fine. Everyone's fine, basically. Anyway. Terziak out front. Has been in control all race. But for how much longer? Because Thanassi, despite the drive-through penalty, despite coming back out behind a train of cars, could have pulled off an absolute masterclass here in Monte Carlo. Championship leader, living up to his credentials, it must be said. Through the swimming pool chicane, and I'm going to make a prediction. with a bit of reverse psychology. Terziak does not pit on this lap. Well, the reverse psychology didn't work, but I think I can give myself a Freddo or a pat on the back for that one, because I was indeed right. Thanassi has gained 3 tenths, or just under 3 tenths, on this lap. 18.7, nearly 18.6 seconds now the gap between himself and Terziak. I'm not sure what Terziak is waiting for at this point, unless he's pit and I don't know about it or something, but... I mean... Look, I DNF'd from this race, but at least I changed my tyres, lad. I mean, you've got to do it at some point. 18.6 seconds, 18.5 seconds the gap now. Thanassi chomping away at that leader's advantage. And we know how notoriously difficult it is to overtake at Monaco. We've seen it etched into history amongst the modern age of Formula 1. And in Blackout in the Formula 1 game, it's no different. Although I made up 3 places on the first lap in the first corner, so well done me. End of lap number 15 then, and I'm going to make quite a confident prediction. Terziak will pit on this lap. I'm calling it. Okay, what is actually going on? I'm confused. What is actually going on? I don't understand. 18.6. Thanassi hasn't caught up a huge amount. I mean, he got 2 tenths in that corner particularly. Buck 57 finally comes in, meanwhile. About damn time, too. But while he's been mulling away, the rest of the competitors have got a massive undercut. So, there goes Thanassi. There goes Milo. I'm just watching to see what kind of a gap he has against Thanassi. It was 8 point something. I think 8.5, I believe. So, what kind of a gap does he have to Thanassi when he peels out of the pit lane? How much time has he lost? 7 plus... Oh, like 16, 17 seconds. Oh. Well, if that's the case, Terziak will comfortably come out in the lead. Virtual safety car! Oh, right, the fairy tale writes itself then for the Alpine driver. Number 97. Played it all on black, and it did come out black. Because we saw the yellow flag. I saw Vulcan going slowly. Indeed, no nose on the Haas car. I only had a bit of a nose missing, so I'll take solace in the fact that that didn't happen to me in the one lap I was racing. But Terziak, meanwhile, as if he needed any more of an open goal to win this race, he already had the margin of advantage to come into the pits, fit the softs on and win this race anyway. He's going to have an astronomical margin now, and it could well be, pending he doesn't bin it, 2 wins in the same night for the Alpine driver, and where he had that heartbreaking retirement in Imola, purely because one spin issue. Oh no, Thanassi could well be in the hunt here. Out of the pit lane comes Terziak, and only just Terziak stays ahead, but side by side up the hill, Thanassi's through ahead of Terziak. What on earth happened there? I would have thought it was set in stone, even without the virtual safety car, but no. No, the Alpine driver doesn't have it all his own way. But 12-lap-old mediums versus fresh softs, this could get tasty. If you needed any more proof that the commentator's curse is a thing, there's your proof. Terziak now behind Thanassi at the Monaco Grand Prix, with just a handful of laps, less than a handful of laps to go in this race. He is indeed. Milo is also there waiting to pounce on those mediums. Slightly fresher than Thanassi as well. If these two do fight very hard indeed, and those softs will be right up to the working window now, as through the chicane goes Terziak, this could get very interesting. Milo could be one for the win yet. Don't count him out. Don't count J-Lane out, who's actually catching up to these 3 as well in that Ferrari. DRS open for Terziak. Puts the pressure on the championship leader, but nothing doing there so far. And somehow a monumental exit from Thanassi, despite mediums being 13 laps old. And the softs being only 1 lap old. Oh, here we go. Now's the time to really pile it on. Almost underneath the diffuser of Thanassi. Stark, meanwhile, is the man on the move. Oh, no! That's what's happened. Maximus in the wall. Stark possibly with damage as well. Something catastrophic happened at turn number 1. We're going to have to ignore that and look at possibly something else catastrophic that might happen. Lap car properly sniffing on the back of a podium fight. I know Dirkleton could well be on it here. Don't count him out. Might also get a penalty for ignoring blue flags in a second, because J-Lane's getting ever closer to this battle. Yellow flag in Sector 2, and oh, Maximus retires from the session. Looks like he went into the escape road and pulled off to the side of the track. No need for a safety car. Ivory, meanwhile, has also retired from this race. They're dropping like flies here at Monaco. And Terziak is running out of time. 2 laps to go before this race is done and dusted. Yes, he's on those fresh softs, but he needs to have that great exit. Has to have the prime opportunity in his favour. And up the hill, look at how fast he's gaining. Makes Thanassi defend to the inside. And that's all he needs to do. Get him to make mistakes. Cause him to overdrive a little bit on those mediums, which he knows will not work nearly as well. It's going to be a battle of mentality as well as tyres here on the final couple of laps. Look how close he is. Going for that narrow line into Portier once again. Lots of wheel spin on the exit, and again Thanassi with a great exit out of there. Just curbs the threat. Through the Novo chicane. Look how much more curb Terziak uses. It's almost spellbinding, really. Buck 57 with a time penalty for multiple warnings. No, no, sir. But only 1 lap left and 1 more chance, really, for Terziak to try and pass Thanassi here at the Monaco Grand Prix. Only 3 tenths to gap. He's going to push the ERS to its absolute limit. Nothing doing there, though, as through the first corner he goes, and that's as close as he's ever been all race. Up the hill he goes, racing up towards the back of the AlphaTauri here on the last lap of the Grand Prix. Blue flags up ahead, meanwhile. Who on earth is that? It's a Red Bull that slightly, well, gets out of the way, actually, so fair play to Big Sam, I think that is. But look at this. Look how much Terziak is snaking all over the back of Thanassi. Look at that switchbacking line through Lowe's hairpin. He's trying absolutely every trick in the book to try and deter the championship leader. He's pushing him through Portier, and this is it. This is the chance. No! Slight braking in the tunnel, but it's a yellow flag. What on earth's going on there? Down the inside goes Terziak. Things just got very ugly. Thanassi with a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting. And has he run out of fuel? Thanassi could have run out of fuel. I think he has. No way! Thanassi could have won this race, but he's dropped anchor. Terziak, who ran into the back of Thanassi, might not have understood what was going on. But round the final corner, it is 2 in 2. Terziak's done it! Unbelievable finish to Monte Carlo in 1982. Remember when, God, hardly anyone would finish that race. Looked to be Didier Pironi that could have won it, but he ran out of fuel in the tunnel. It was Riccardo Patrese that span at Lowe's hairpin, managed to bump start the car because it was rolling backwards. Came through to take the win in the end. What a crazy, crazy finish to this race. Oh my word. And that's why the yellow flags are out. There are all the answers you could have possibly asked for. Thanassi, who looked in control and had all the answers in defence, runs out of fuel on the final lap of the race. Whew. Well, that Monaco Grand Prix had just about everything. Milo, driver of the day, takes P2, by the way, I forgot to say. What an effort from Milo, what a great effort from J-Lane. What a crazy, crazy Monaco Grand Prix. Terziak takes his 2nd win of the night. You would say putting too little fuel in the car is a suboptimal strategy. You can tell that to Thanassi. I don't think he'll be very impressed with your assessment, but you're not wrong equally. The Alpine team, as I hydrate myself with Christ's blood plasma. Spray Christ's blood plasma everywhere. I don't think he'd appreciate that. But you know what? In Monaco, I think he can make an exception. What? I'm I'm speechless. I've got nothing. I've got nothing. That was awful. Well, I'll tell you what. That up at the front, you wouldn't believe what on earth just happened there. My God. I hate that track. Well, you know what? At least you finished the race, and at least you didn't run out of fuel. That is the main thing. Terziak wins 2 in 2. Incredible for the Alpine driver and his crusade towards challenging gaseous gremlins, but also for the top of the championship. Milo P2, J-Lane 3rd, Buck 57 4th, Tagmata 5th, Buck 26th. Thanassi has fastest lap as a consolation, but with 10 seconds of penalties as well and fuel running out, it will be no consolation really in the end. Giraffe P8, Stark got 9th in the end with Slam 10th with Wilco, Majko, Vulcan, Dirkleton, Big Sam with the last point scoring position, Maximus, Ivory, and myself, despite not even being supposed to race, still coming home in P18 in what should have been a 20-car grid. So you know what? I'm pretty happy with that. You can't really ask for much more than that, can you? Whoosh. Right. Let's all just take a breather. Let's all just take a breather. Gonna have to be a lunge. Well, I'll tell you what. I think he could have gone for it, but you know what? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm absolutely lost for words. I'm absolutely beyond belief. What a crazy Monaco Grand Prix. Crazier than anyone could have possibly imagined. For all the right reasons. Oh my goodness me. Well then, that had everything. I wasn't even supposed to drive. I drove for a lap. I got front wing damage because I was just trying to let Wilco through and not ruin his race. I'm just gonna... Hang on. Sorry if I ruined anyone's race in lap 1. That wasn't on the script. Cool. I'm sure they'll appreciate that. Anyway, let's run down this week. I mean, oh, Jesus Christ. This is ridiculous, honestly. I mean, come on. Come on, come on. What do you even say, genuinely? I can't believe it. Mexico. Terziak took the win. A great strategy from him. And a great win from him. Not only that, but Buck 57 on the podium. Jamie Tarquin in the Williams looked to be the man to beat. But time penalties and a suboptimal strategy just held him back that tiny bit. Elsewhere, though, you get to Monaco, and where you think it shouldn't be chaos, everything happens. Absolutely everything. So, qualifying, computer crashed. Well, game crashed, actually. Computer was fine. Game crashed, not ideal. Signed out, came back in, didn't realise that there were 3 qualifying sessions, quickly figured that one out, then headed into the race. Oh, I'm in the Alfa Romeo. What's this? Hang on, maybe I'm in the championship standings after all this. I'll be last, but you know what? I don't care. I'll be in the championship. Officially, I'll be a Blackout racing driver for all the wrong reasons. I wasn't supposed to be driving, but there you go. Yuck Monaco. I drove it on a controller for 1 lap. I wasn't even supposed to be driving. I would have rather had quadruple pneumonia. It was horrible. Anyway, my PTSD aside. Well done to all the drivers. Because, my God, you gave me loads to talk about and loads to shout about today. Holy mother of God. That was incredible. Especially Monaco. I didn't think that would give me as much bonanza as it did. But for all the right reasons, it did. Especially me screaming on lap 1, just trying to avoid death. But, you know. There you go. Wow. What an incredible and crazy day of Blackout. The main story of the day, if you're looking at the championship leader, 4th and 7th today. The man in 2nd in the championship. The full 1st and 1st. And got 1 fastest lap in one of the races. 66 points in his crusade to catch up to Thanassi in the championship. The opponents have been set. The score settled today in Blackout. But what will next week bring? Well, next week, let me give you a bit of a teaser as to where we are. I can tell you, we are in Brazil. Brazil and Spain is where we are at. That's pretty incredible. So, you'd best be looking forward to that one. Because I certainly am. If this week was anything to go by, my goodness me, are we in for a treat. Not least because Spain will mean someone will just spontaneously combust on the final 2 corners. Because Codemasters can't code. But there you go. I will now sign off after what was absolutely crazy. Milo Great race from him in Monaco. Same for J-Lane. People taking advantage of safety cars alike, but also undercuts alike. On a track where it's notoriously difficult to overtake, they did the job. And I respect them very, very much for that. In the end, though, Terziak proved invincible this week in Blackout. So, all that remains for me to say is, sorry if I burst your eardrums during the beginning of Monaco. Sorry that I had to split the stream into two. That wasn't part of the plan. But most importantly, thank you for watching, and thank you to Blackout for allowing me to commentate as always. Especially on weeks like this, where just kind of everything happens. Because my goodness me, I mean, well, I'm gonna have to drive again, but on a wheel. I feel like I have a chip on my shoulder now. Just not on Monaco. I don't have to do Monaco now, actually, so it's fine. But there we go. What an incredible set of affairs in Blackout. Join us again next week. Monday, 8 PM is when we start, when we get on the way. And like I said, Brazil and Spain will be on the agenda. Actually, while I'm here and while we're ending off, I can tell you that some of the races now, we're back to the possibly 35% and 50% format. So there's discussions going on as to what races will be 50%. But you will find out. I will bring you all the intel as I stream this next week. If you go to my YouTube, KarlsCars, you will find a playlist with all of the Blackout VODs on them. If you haven't seen some of the previous ones or want to catch up on this one, check it out. You'll enjoy it very much. Join us again next week for more Blackout. I thank you for watching. Have a lovely night. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon. Turn us to thousands.